Hi, I'm Dr. Stephen Krieger, the Neurology Residency Program Director at Mount Sinai in New York, and I'm here at the American Academy of Neurology 2019 meeting in Philadelphia to tell you about an education research project that we have presented this year. So we've been very interested in why students become neurologists. This is a topic of interest in our field. A recent publication by Gutman and colleagues looked at some of the reasons why students said they wanted to be neurologists. What we looked at in our project was the Neurology Residency Personal Statement, that part of the application where the students really write out their reasons for wanting to join the field. So we culled together 2,400 neurology residency personal statements from the applications to our program over the last 5 years and did a large-scale computational linguistics analysis of those personal statements to get at the reasons why these people wanted to be neurologists. This has not been done previously in our field. So we found a handful of things. One, the diseases that applicants talked about stroke, they talked about epilepsy, they talked about the major diseases, and that's not terribly surprising. One finding that I found entertaining was that carpal tunnel was mentioned about 10 times out of 2,400 personal statements. So very rare for students to be interested in neurology and mention carpal tunnel, even though it's something that as neurologists we all have to be pretty familiar with. So the diseases were perhaps as expected. We also looked at the themes that these students talked about, and here I think this is interesting and gives us perhaps educational opportunities to recruit more people into our field. Students talked about their interest in research and their fascination with the breakthroughs in neuroscience research in recent years. They talked about how neurologists have deep connections with our patients and care about quality of life and education for patient care. They talked about personal and family history with neurologic disease, which is a huge driver of the interest in joining our field. And they talked about certain people that have been big influences for them. One of those, which I found interesting, was Sherlock Holmes. Sherlock Holmes came up an awful lot in the reasons why students wanted to become neurologists, because I think he embodies the sort of deductive reasoning and problem solving and finding solutions to diagnostic mysteries that students find intriguing about neurology. We also looked at subgroups and, for instance, broke out why men wanted to be neurologists as opposed to why women said they wanted to be neurologists. They had many things in common, such as talking about stroke and the brain itself, but women talked perhaps more about the personal aspects. They talked about family and women and grandmothers. They talked about dance. Men talked more about technology, EEG, suffering. So perhaps this perpetuates some long-standing gender stereotypes, but we went where the data took us and we're still exploring that. And I'll conclude by saying that one person was brought up the most times. The single most commonly mentioned proper name was Oliver Sacks. And I think this really reflects Oliver Sacks's influence in inspiring people to join the field of neurology. And so in memoriam to him, we wanted to point out that Oliver Sacks has an enduring influence in why medical students want to be neurologists. So reporting about the Neurology Residency Personal Statement Project from Mount Sinai, I'm Stephen Krieger for Medscape in Philadelphia.